This is Gregory Sweet with Skagit Talks. My guest today is Sarah Stoner, who is the Agricultural Lands Coordinator for Skagit County Farmland Legacy Program. Sarah, welcome to Skagit Talks.
Thank you, Gregory.
Pleasure to have you here. I took real interest in this because I grew up in farm country in central Illinois myself, and I'm watching, as the farmland gets so expensive and, the small farmers are finding it difficult to expand and, maintain their farms with farmland, competing with, residential, commercial, and all that kind of thing. And I took real interest in reading about what the Farmland Legacy Program does. And I know it's part of the Skagit County Public Works, and it was established in 1996. Can you tell me a little bit about what your mission is, Sarah?
Yeah, sure thing. And you're exactly right. That's what you're describing is exactly what's going on here in Skagit County, in terms of pressures for farmers and farmland, just like it's going on all over the United States. But the main mission of the Skagit County Farmland Legacy Program is that we're looking to protect farmland, definitely. But at the same time, we understand that we're not here just to preserve farmland. We're here because we need to preserve food production, and we need our farmers to keep our food growing. So, the bottom line is that's why we have a saying that says it's not farmland without farmers. So we're here to keep farmers farming on in the landscape, ultimately.
I was reading, I did not know this. There are 90 different kinds of crops that are grown in Skagit County, from produce to fruit to flowers. The return on the investment the last 20 years has been a staggering 12.24%. I know that puts a lot of pressure on farmers, when there's an encroachment of residential and commercial, that sort of thing. But on the other hand, that is a good return for a risk type venture as farming is. I noticed that one of the things that you mentioned in the mission on your website, and let's do point out the website here because it's very good. It's skagitcounty.net/farmland. And you can read more about the organization that Sarah is a part of there and what their mission is. One of the things too, Sarah, that I noticed was that your organization does not actually purchase the property, the agricultural property. They take easements on them. The easements run in perpetuity to the property. Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
Sure. The approach to protecting land and farmland specifically by using easements is pretty brilliant because it allows the farmland owner to maintain ownership of the land. And what a conservation easement does is just buy up or donate specific rights. So in terms of Farmland Legacy, it is a purchase that's bought up. And there's certain limitations, especially around the purchase of the right to build a single-family home on farmland, because the farming becomes so much more difficult the more that our farmland is fragmented with development. So these easements just put certain restrictions and basically allow the farmland to stay in use as agricultural land. So it's protected from non-ag development. What happens is future building can happen only if it's infrastructure that's in support of agriculture. And there is actually a limit to the total amount of what we call impervious surface. And that's basically anything that rainwater's gonna run off very quickly, like the roof of a house or the roof of a barn, driveways, gravel. So that in the easement is generally capped at a maximum of 2% of the total protected farmland. So And that also supports what this easement's trying to do, which is keep farmland.
Amount of that you pay for these easements, does it vary depending on the type of property or the location within the county?
It does vary. Let's see. So generally on agricultural land, current zoning regulations allow one home per 40 acres in the ag land. So the amount that's paid can vary depending on how many development rights a farmer or farmland owner is giving up. It certainly makes a difference what the current market is, or where the property is located. And it's willing buyer, willing seller, which is one reason I think the Farmland Legacy Program works really well in this county. And because farmland owners, come voluntarily and walk away quite happy. The program allows farmers and farmland owners to extract certain value and certain rights off their land that potentially they don't necessarily have a use for anyway. A lot of our commercial farmers and people who are planning to farm for a long period of time here in the Skagit County aren't planning to put a house right in the middle of the field they farm that they're just going to have to go around. It just makes it so much harder for them, for our farmers, to have to work around houses in what I've come to understand are our working lands. It's been really helpful for me to shift my perspective to understand that all of our 90,000 acres here in Skagit County that are zoned for agricultural use are our working lands, and they're also in our floodplain. So it really behooves us to keep our development out of the floodplain. Anytime we're building a home in the floodplain, and that is our Skagit Valley farmland, we've got flood and emergency response issues that also increase. So there's so many layers to our farmland here in the Skagit County.
You're listening to Skagit Talks. My special guest today is Sarah Stoner, who is the Agriculture Lands Coordinator for Skagit County Farmland Legacy Program. You mentioned, Sarah, that there's 90,000 acres of farmland. How many acres, I know you started your program in 1996, how many acres are set aside currently in the Farmland Legacy Program, and do you have a goal of a certain amount of acreage that try and acquire and set aside each year?
Yeah, that's a great number to look at. So right now, after 25 years of the program being in place, the county has protective easements on more than 14,500 acres of our farmland. So that means we've protected about 550 acres a year on average over these last 25 years. So it's interesting to consider that if we keep protecting the farmland at that pace, we'll have approximately 30% of Skagit County's ag land protected in another 25 years. So like say by 2046. And it's really important that we understand that we need a critical mass of productive, actively farmed farmland here in the valley to keep our agricultural infrastructure local and keep it alive and well.
It's a phenomenal program that you've got, Sarah, and it sounds like you've made great progress. Like you say, you're getting close to 30%. That's wonderful, and that legacy will, as you mentioned earlier, will transfer down from owner to owner. I guess probably one of the most important questions I should ask is that how can any of the Skagit Valley farmers that want to participate in this program, how can they do so? Do they contact you directly, or is there a form on your website?
I think the best way is to just contact me directly. There's definitely an application form on our website. I just love making contact with the farmland owners generally when they're contacting me, they either have questions or they're just ready. They're at a point in their life and their legacy. They're at a point where they want to see their farmland protected. So they're generally ready to have that conversation. And I'm absolutely here either to meet in person or pick up the phone and have that conversation. We have a lot of support here in the county from our citizens who support agriculture and from our government offices that are very friendly in supporting the success of agriculture here. But we really can't do it without our farmland owners and our farmers. We just really count on them, and there have been, I would say, approximately 150 farmers have signed on in Skagit County so far to protect their farmland here, and that equates to about 200 agricultural easements that we have that we manage here. And when I say that we manage, every year we just like to make sure that there's been no wild, building, that everyone is in the confines of their easement, and we really haven't come across anyone who's struggled with the conservation easement agreement. So it's a very doable easement agreement that works well for our farmland owners.
It sounds like a wonderful program, Sarah. Let's give the listeners your contact information. Sarah Stoner. Her telephone number at her work is 360-416-1417. Her email address is S as in Sarah Stoner, STONER, at co.skagit.wa.us to get more information on the Skagit County Farmland Legacy Program. Okay, one last question that I had for you, and because this is something that people always ask in rural areas, I know, is does this easement in any way affect their property taxes?
Actually, it's one of the benefits. It will reduce your taxes when you have a conservation easement on there, because in theory, you're reducing. If you're putting certain restrictions on your land, then it's slightly reducing the value. And so that's exactly the amount that our farmland owners get paid, is the difference in the value between their land without a conservation easement and with a conservation easement. And so the benefit there after you have a conservation easement is you do have reduced taxes. It does make the farmland more affordable for other farmers, especially beginning farmers. We want to keep seeing new farmers coming in and taking over our existing farmland organizations here and all the work that's being done. So in all these ways, our program, is a part of helping keep agriculture viable in Skagit County. And just a reminder, Skagit County is one of the last remaining viable agricultural economies here in Washington State.
Sounds like a win-win proposition to me, Sarah. It's a wonderful program that you've got there. Thank you for joining me today on Skagit Talks to discuss this program, and I wish you well with acquiring more of these easements. I know that the future looks bright for Skagit County agriculture. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Gregory.
I'm Gregory Sweet with Skagit Talks.